What is going on, Panther Lair? We are back talking about the Pittsburgh Panthers road loss to the Louisville Cardinals. Now, I just talked about why I think Pitt's offense gets a little bit stale when they try to force the ball into Cam Corrin or they put him in positions to initiate some offense. I want to talk about the other end of the floor here, particularly the guards getting screened and just losing the point of attack and conceding dribble penetration. It's been a problem for a couple games now. Wanted to highlight it here too. This is also kind of one of the things that I lean on when I talk about why Brandon Cummings and Amsal Delic should get a little bit more time. No one on the perimeter is defending particularly well right now. So if you can just rotate guys in a little bit more, you may have fresh legs down the stretch of the games when a lot of times Pitt is pretty much, within a possession or two of their opponent. So maybe having a little bit more juice that they can exert on the defensive end at the end would help. And it would allow guys to maybe get in some other kind of rhythm, play a few more minutes, develop for the future. So I'll get off that soapbox here and we will dive into these possessions. So you're never going to see when Pitt guys are setting screens and they're using screens, you'll seldom see defenders trailing to the degree that you're going to see the Pitt players in these sequences here. So you have Emilio Lowe is behind. Guillermo Diaz-Graham does a pretty good job keeping the ball handler in front of him as he's in drop coverage, and his sink rate here is pretty good. But the ball handler puts Lowe in jail here for quite a bit. And then eventually when Lowe's able to recover, I mean, this is just the reality of just not being a very big or overly athletic player there once someone has 2 feet in the paint. So same thing here. This one coming out of transition. Lowe trailing kind of mightily gets on Chucky Hepburn's hip, but ultimately has to foul him. So here we go, coming out of transition. Look at this, I guess this is a reasonable job of curtailing the dribble penetration. It's hard to say because I feel like Hepburn could have maybe just taken this all the way to the hoop, but he chooses to pull this back out, and he kind of actually uses Cam Corrin against Leggett here as a natural pick of some sorts as he has to try to navigate it. And then, Corrin, not the best defender, but doesn't do a bad job here as Hepburn is looking to snake this. But look how much Leggett is now trailing this screen. And because of that, that's going to put a ton of pressure on Corrin. It's going to force Guillermo Diaz-Graham to play with a foot in the paint here because he's going to have to potentially ward against, dribble penetration to the rim here with this player's dominant hand. Because of that, this ends up being a lightly contested 3. You'll see here, same thing for Leggett. He's going to get immediately on the hip of the ball handler here, so he's not in a position to recover. That's going to force Guillermo Diaz-Graham to have to, stay on to the ball handler a whole lot longer, but he's trying to also sink at a rate to prevent lob passes and prevent any type maybe like pocket pass or something like that to his man. Again, I think he does a pretty reasonable job here, but the lob just goes over top of him even though he's 7 foot, and then Austin has to foul on the backside. And in the second half, when fouls really mattered because they were both in the bonus, under 10 minutes, but way outside, I think, of 5 minutes to play in this game, and teams were just going to the free throw. Both teams were going to the free throw line a lot. These fouls mattered. And then this last one, again, to my point, so, this is them trying to come back. This is a 2-possession game. This is Pitt trying to come back in this game. And Lowe, honestly, even with, barely grazes, if at all, that ball screen. I mean, that is a ghost screen. There's almost nothing there, but just completely loses the point of attack. And again, I talked about last time, I mean, both Diaz-Graham's and Corrin occasionally will block shots, but there was just no hesitation from Hepburn whatsoever to try to get all the way to the basket on that. So conceding the point of attack when you do not have a deterrent at the rim is really a bad recipe. And the more games, particularly obviously in conference, that Pitt was playing, the more teams were figuring that out. And I still just comes down to me, these guys are tired, and it's so hard if they're going to dribble out every single possession and then jack up a shot. That's going to be the next video here. And then you have come down on the other end, and teams are kind of like trying to hunt them in matchups so that they're even more tired when they get back on offense, and that's kind of been the recipe against Pitt for quite some time now. So just wanted to call this out, in film here. It's just one of the things where Pitt's guards are getting screened so much and giving up so much dribble penetration, and when you don't have a lot of shot blockers at the rim, it's going to lead to really good nights from the opposing teams.